respected Dean, organizers, and my dear fraternity, faculty, scholars, and participants. Kind and warm greetings to one and all. I am Dr. Rajesh Hooda, and I am working as faculty in Department of Laws in a women university in North India. It is BPS Women University in Sonipat, a district in Haryana. Co-author of this paper is Dr. Kritika Dahiya, who is my colleague in Department of Laws, BPS Women University, Kanpur. We are feeling privileged to be part of this international conference, and I, on behalf of my colleague Dr. Kritika Dahiya, convey my good wishes for the successful completion of the conference. I am presenting my paper on virtual reality and rural women in legal education, immersive and experiential learning. This paper is an experiential and analytical account of virtual reality, which enabled rural women in legal education to explore new opportunities. The first slide of my presentation is on how the digital push and online education acquired an urgency during the pandemic. We witnessed the public health crisis and it turned into a pandemic. COVID-19 threshed the people around the world to go locked, and everything went closed, including the offices, schools, and universities. Learning is a constant phenomena. And this is so that the curiosity and the disparate human race always keep on exploring new ideas and innovations. Human civilizations survived all the disasters, pandemics in the history and riddled the challenges with ease and time. COVID-19 is one of the unprecedented situations we people experienced in our life. Amidst the fear of spreading infections and risk, higher education bodies were very appropriately closed the educational institutions and very shortly managed to track the teaching learning methods. And virtual platform suddenly turned as an agent of paradigm shift for the teachers and the learners. Higher education system in India took initiatives, issued grants to promote use of online teaching methods like MOOCs, but it could never set the trends in the states and rural educational institutions owing to certain reasons. Use of technology could not reach to the roots of the education system until it happened in the COVID-19 phase, and all of a sudden the offline mode got replaced by online mode and virtual reality became the truth of teaching learning system. MOOCs became popular during this period only, and this is the contribution which came to the Indian education system only with the virtual reality. It is very pertinent to ascertain and find whether the change is a mere natural outcome of the transition during the pandemic or is leading towards swift transformation in Indian education system. With due research post-pandemic period, we would be better able to comment on virtual reality as a coercive or immersive mechanism. My institution, which is established in a rural backdrop and having access to limited resources and enjoying very little autonomy, is proud for the dynamic and paradigm shift on the virtual mode, especially when the majority of its students and teachers lacked skills, training, and not provided any technical know-how of educational applications and their uses. But this did not turn down the spirit of our students and the teachers to shift to the virtual mode. Next to this, it is important to discuss the legal education requirements in India. The legal education standards are guided by the BCI and the UGC, and it covers the regulatory framework, institutional framework, and the academic framework. The legal education is a dynamic and professional and interdisciplinary field which has been on a tough frame during the COVID-struck closures in the institutions. BCI and UGC are the regulatory bodies which provide all the guidelines and regulations to maintain its standards. Infrastructure in the state institutions depends for its funds on state and the UGC. Regulatory bodies have laid either no focus or very little stress on infrastructure building, which is required to support continuous virtual teaching learning. When we talk about academic framework of legal educations, regulations insist to impart professional skills through moot courts, client counseling, and to hone mediation techniques to its students. Students' participation was restricted in terms of place of the host institution owing to the prevalent socio-economic reasons and also was pushed back by the gender gaps. My observations to this is supported by the fact that besides regulatory framework, the legal education in state rural institutions is driven with the extraneous factors like expectations of the girls and their parents. The students and the parents have different perspectives and approaches while taking admissions in institutions like ours, which is a women institution and also situated in a rural background. This is an engendered profession, and legal education in villages are not a preferred stream and treated as more suitable for males. Girl students are restrained by their parents to move outside even for the academic growth. The pandemic COVID-19 turned a bliss for our aspiring students. Now they could connect to the world, new developments and global trends in legal education using the virtual mode and the apps in their hands. Girl students learned and trying to explore the huge benefits of accessing online platforms, e-content, applications and self-paced courses, MOOCs created by India as well as foreign universities. Though some infrastructural setbacks become challenged, but the urgency and the advantages geared to overcome the poor network facilities and any lack of awareness about applications and every other reason was met with zeal and confidence. With the swift change to the virtual mode, it is observed that students and parents' perspectives and approaches also got changed. A few scholars could make it successfully enrolled through WebEx or edX to study with institutions not in their reach in offline mode. They very ably overcome the barriers so far in their way to connect to the foreign universities and teachers there. This is observed as a remarkable and landmark change. There are many applications which are providing very broad and purpose-specific options. There are some applications which I as a faculty and my colleagues might not be aware of, but I am sure these can render my lectures, training sessions, practicals and competitions more convenient to handle and also desirable in the legal education. Either the lectures, seminar, debates, quizzes, or the moot courts, or even the practicals. Most popular and reliable applications used by our teachers and students are Google Meet and the Zoom. Though this area is new for me and I am not an expert here, detailed study is required to assert anything on a qualitative and quantitative foot, but undoubtedly virtual reality is going to transcend change in rural universities in life of women in legal profession. It can be said as bridging gaps in teaching learning during the pandemic. It is seen as teacher student reconnect, and legal education is becoming global even for the rural students. It is providing help in exploration of the new horizons and international standards. It is observed that knowledge sources are getting popularity like MOOCs and self-paced courses. Virtual reality, which initially was a challenge in legal education and seen as engineers and computer software's paradise, introduced itself as an agent of transition to the transformation. Virtual reality is a new era, a digital push which is never going to be reversed. And then urgency will usher the education system and the teaching methods in India in a new era, opening a new vistas and new opportunities. So, technology is not simple and easy to choose and go with, but the education fraternity, even in small and rural institutions, is formed to take over the trends ahead and to the next level. Societal and economic barriers in using virtual reality would not hamper the growth and developments of any student or the teacher. There are no escape ways to it, and it has become very essential for ensuring the improvised standards for teachers and the learners. There will be more for foreign collaborations and tie-ups with virtual reality, and territorial impediments in education will not hamper the growth of ambitious learners and a committed teacher. Virtual reality opened new vistas to the entire world, especially to our young girls in legal education, despite its rural backdrop. In my last slide, I have discussed the observations and the suggestions, and the rural woman in legal education is experiencing a new kind of world with the help of the virtual applications. Being immersed as a teacher in legal education, I am of the opinion that it is the responsibility of the higher education institutions and the state for enabling young rural girls to use innovative tools and technology and various educational applications. Investments are required focusing the newly emerged issues and problems like better networking in institutions and facilities which support continual use of online mode and to enhance reliance over virtual reality even post pandemic. Training of associated staff, faculty, and students is also a fundamental requirement. Motivation to both the faculty and the student is important for the active and preferred participation to extend the advantages of the virtual platform to the young girls in legal education. Sharing of e-resources is also needed to be focused. PCI and Higher Education Department can take initiatives to increase the practices in legal education of creating and involving more use of e-resources. The online search of the judgments, recent legal developments, and case comments should be available in free domain, at least in rural universities with girls in legal education. I would stop with these submissions and would like to thank to all of you for the patient sharing.